Yo, so what's up? Welcome back to a brand new video. Yeah, they're out. One of the games I've been playing in like the past few months is I've been getting really into like hardcore survival games. Think of your Rust, think of your Project Zomboid, your Green Hells, maybe even The Forest, okay? And I've been playing these pretty religiously. They've been kind of like my favorite genre of game recently, and to a certain extent, I want to kind of talk about one of them and overall introduce you guys to a banger. Today, we're going to be talking about Kenshi. Now, Kenshi in all its glory is a survival role-playing game set in a post-apocalyptic world. Kenshi was made by Lo-Fi Games and was released on December 6, 2018, and one of the main people responsible for this game coming out was a man by the name of Chris Hunt, pretty much the sole developer of Kenshi. Now, that's not to say that he didn't get help from other people, and we will talk about that because this game has a soundtrack with it. Now, I can't stress this enough, this game has no linear story path. You literally are just dropped in, and let's get into that. So when you start Kenshi and you go to play a new game, it will give you a certain number of starts. I think it's like 4 or 5. Okay, so hey there, Grandpa's back. There's actually 13 starts to Kenshi. Now, the first start to Kenshi is called the Wanderer, and basically you start with a pair of pants, a sword, and 1,000 coin. Now, I guess I should talk about that. The currency in this game is actually called cats. I'm not throwing that in. I'm not throwing that in. I'm not throwing that in. And, they pretty much mean nothing. The prices for stuff in this game can go from 1,000 cats to fucking 40,000 up to 100,000. I've had at least in my time playing this game. Sorry, I'm just checking how many hours on Kenshi I have. In my 60 hours of Kenshi, I have only gotten up to like, I think 200k cats. And that was just from smuggling hashish. And now you know why I'm making the video. So yes, you can actually traffic weed in this game and make a pretty profit. And here's where it gets a little crazy. The cannibal hunters. Now, yes, there are cannibals in this game. This game is brutal. I mean, you can lose the limbs, you can lose your leg and get a robotic leg. You can get eaten by animals after they've already attacked you. And you can get taken into slavery. Now, this starts you off in cannibal territory with a team, which is something we're going to talk about now. The team mechanic in Kenshi is being able to control your entire party at once, or one person at a time, or having one person in one part of the map, having one person in another part of the map. This is your party, and you can recruit these people from bars, or just meeting them out in the wastes, is what I'm going to be calling it, because the waste just sounds fire. Now, as this is a survival game, growing your party to the numbers of 30s and 40s is not very viable, as you have to buy food for each one of these people. And if you do choose to make your own settlement, which is a thing you can do, and start growing your own food and all of that stuff, you still have to have people going out into the waste to get the, production material for that thing. Which is viable. You can do it. And yeah, there is ways to actually, have a fucking army on Kenshi and be able to feed them all and clothe them, and it's pretty cool. Next is the kind of weird part. This is where it gets a little weird. So yeah, there are hive people in this game, and they pretty much are just literal hive. They're just bees. They're just bees. I don't know why I'm trying to press. They're just bees. And this one is called the Hive Exile. And apparently this bee guy was exiled from his troop because he wasn't loving the queen enough. And this start pretty much places you where, you're in the middle of a pretty dangerous environment with no materials, and that's why it's a hard start. Now, if you next choose to be a Empire citizen, the Empire is think of it as like the biggest military faction in the game. Now, in the Empire, starvation and poverty is illegal. And with this one, you're basically tasked with finding some kind of self-employment outside of the Empire City. And that's all I'm really going to go over for the starts, because every one of them is kind of intertwined, besides like the few different ones like the Hive and the Empire Citizen and the Holy Nation Citizen, which I didn't go over for a specific reason, and we will go over it in a little bit, so hold your fucking horses. Dude, wait, I just realized I'm on a green screen. Can I like put myself on a horse? Hold up. Editor, make it work. Now, when I said Kenshi doesn't do any hand-holding, I meant it, okay? When you first spawn into Kenshi, you're probably gonna be a little lost, and that's what turned me off to the game for a little while, but it was learning about it that actually made me love the game that much more. Now, for this video, I have chosen my character as the Wanderer. So, we start off with 1,000, and I go to a bar and sit down on the floor. Now, in order to get hashish in this game, you have to go to the swamp region, which in and of itself is a challenge. Now, in the swamp region, there are these fucking these fucking vermin, these fucking creatures, okay? And they are pretty fast, and they do a lot of damage to the player. And I have a feeling Chris put them in the game just to spite us hashish runners. So yeah, if you're running hashish, you have about 2 things to worry about. You have these big, tall, giraffe-looking fuckers, and then yeah, the little spider people. Now, if you didn't die, and you actually make it to the swamp village, you can go and talk to a fisherman who sells fish and hashish. There's this big town in the middle of the swamp that has like the most hashish, and you can also go to the ones neighboring it. And in order to sell this hashish, because you cannot just walk into any store and sell it, you will be arrested and killed, and it's probably sold into slavery. They really like to sell people into slavery in this game. And how do you get to the swamp, you ask? Well, here is the map of Kenshi. So yeah, depending on where you start and which start you actually choose, you can be placed in a number of places on this map. And it's a huge map. I still, in my 50 hours of playing this game, I still have not ventured throughout the entire map. There's still places I haven't been. And this game was in development for like 8 years, so to see a map this big is just insane to me, because it shows that they put a lot of detail into the world and actually cared about what they were making. And that is just, to be honest, that is a very big thing nowadays that not a lot of developers do. And think about recently with Black Ops 7, oh my god, that fucking horse shit. Which I can't really say, because we did get a good game. We got Arc Raiders, and it's a pretty good game. It's a pretty good game. If you haven't played it, buy it. I don't care how much it is. Buy a key off a website, dude. Well, nah. Support the devs, man. Support the devs. Buy the game on Steam. Now, you're going to want to go somewhere around here to Flat Lagoon. Now, you can sell the hashish to the tech traders for up to 400%. So, that is 400% of what you bought it for, or, yeah, 400% the original value, which, doing this a few times can actually make you rich. Like, I have played Kenshi a lot, and I wasn't doing the hashish running that much, because, to be honest with you, it's kind of one of those jobs you give to one of your, other squad members and just let them do that in the background. But when it comes to running hashish, you can make a killing off of it. I've seen people make up to fucking 100,000, 700,000, a million cats in the game. And that's a very nice start for what you're going to like be doing in the game, which is building an empire, man. You gotta build something. I mean, what are you gonna do? Walk around in Kenshi? Which you can. Now, building settlements in Kenshi is easy and hard. Hard if you don't know what you're doing, easy if you have a general understanding. In this game, there is tech trees. You have a tech tree 1, tech tree 2, tech tree 3, and in those encompasses a whole lot of different stuff that you get. And you get these from research benches that you can make. So you make like a tier 1 research bench, a tier 2, a tier 3, a tier 4, a tier 5. It's Rust rules. And basically, you put walls around your entire compound, and there will be times where you will have to defend your compound from different people. And, they will come and knock at your gate, or if you don't answer the gate, they will begin breaking the gate down. Which is fire. I love that, because it makes it like a castle siege kind of thing. Like, I gotta defend my base. Combat in Kenshi is weird. It's more or less choosing when you want to block, choosing when you want to be more aggressive, and controlling other people during the fight. So, say me and you get into a fight. I can right click on you, say attack, but I want to select block so that if you throw attacks at me, my priority is to block than to attack. So I'll be doing more blocking than attacking, and that's kind of how Kenshi is. And stats are a big factor in combat. There are ranged weapons that you can use, but I haven't had much fun with them, and I prefer the sword combat because it's just a lot more fun. It's a preference. Now, when you get defeated in Kenshi, you don't die like in normal games. Sometimes you will if the injury is fatal enough, but majority of the time you will go unconscious and be given a second chance. So after you come out of being unconscious, if you have a med kit, you can heal yourself a little bit, and you will still have the injuries, but they will heal up slowly. You just won't have the bleeding in that second, which can very much help you out if you have like a big load of hashish, which I haven't gotten my stuff stolen per se. I have gotten like a few things taken, but like I haven't gotten everything in my bag stolen, which okay, whatever, I guess. Okay. Now, let's say you don't want to make a settlement outside of town. If you do, you can buy a house in town and repair it. I think you can only buy houses that are like broken down and you have to repair them, or you might be able to buy some that are just already made. But if you want to live in town, that's safer than living on the outside, and I completely get that. But you will be missing out on being able to grow your own stuff. You run the risk of being checked if you have any illegal goods inside. You run the risk of being checked by guards. And generally, if it gets overrun, you are at the mercy of whatever comes next. Now, Kenshi has not only been one of my favorite games for a little bit because of the survival aspect, but overall the explorability. Each time you go out of a city to walk around Kenshi, there are just these beautiful, just like wasteland fucking shits in the ground. It's so cool. And I love to see developer attention to detail even outside of like the regular cities, because they could have just made them like sand. They could just made it a desert, dude. I would still have played the game if it was a desert, but to see the attention of detail in so many places. It's not just like you walk out of a city, there's like for a couple blocks there's debris and stuff like that, and then it's just endless sand, you know what I mean? Like, they very much pay so much attention to detail with this game. Alright, so if you couldn't tell by my fucking dirty attire, I just got back home from work. We got a little bit of that Gekikan sake, or okay, that kind of worked. Yeah, we're drinking some Junmai sake tonight, and let's get back into Kenshi. Now, in every other game, maybe like Skyrim, the Fallout series perhaps, the world kind of revolves around the player. In Kenshi, it's kind of the other way around. The world doesn't know you exist. You could play the game for 30 hours and still have no fucking idea what you're doing. You could make as much money as you want, and the game world still just doesn't care. Now we're gonna go over the 3 main factions of Kenshi. Now, the Holy Nation is a very populated spot on the map with a bunch of human Greenlander, which is a race in the game, where they worship a god-like entity called Okran. They treat the Shek and the Hivers as if they are lesser than them, and they pretty much don't let them into the Holy Nation. They also have a fear of skeletons and will attack anyone with robotic limbs, so you lose an arm, don't go to the Holy Nation. Next faction on our list is the United Cities. Now, this is ran by the Empire, and if you heard what I was talking about the Empire, they are the biggest faction in the game by, just play area. Like, they have the biggest faction. Now, the Empire is closely allied with 3 different guilds: the Traders Guild, the Slave Traders, and the Bounty Hunters, which makes spawning here great for opportunities to make money. Bounty hunting in this game can take you from 10 cats to fucking 10 million. It's pretty much the best way to make money in the game, besides taking over factions and selling off all of their stolen loot. Next on the list, we have the Western Hive, which, if you can remember, is these little stick-looking dudes, the little bee people. Now, in their little territory is a bunch of villages where they all live and, live life. Few from this group, however, do live isolated off from the group in their little caves and other places where you wouldn't think to find them. And those are the 3 main factions of the game. And if you're asking yourself, oh, well, which one's the strongest one? I'd probably say the Empire, because they are the biggest faction, and in all my time looking up this game and researching it, I have never seen someone take down the Empire, so hats off to them, man. Good for you guys. Now, I know we just went over the factions, but how did this even happen? What is the lore of Kenshi? Now, Kenshi, in and of itself, in the game world, is set on a moon, a stagnant moon, and if you don't know what stagnant means, it means it just isn't moving. And the moon's been around for thousands of years, starting with the first Empire, where they were making space elevators and advancing technology beyond our comprehension. Thousands of years later, where there was infighting and people were dying, sending things into different kinds of disarray around the entire moon. And a few hundred years after that is where we take place in Kenshi. Now, for the first 1,000 years of Kenshi's planetorial development, it kinda took a halt because they were trying to advance technology too fast, which we can already see some of these structures that lead up to our part of the game forming. Now, following a rebellion from the Okranites, which is these older kind of worshippers of Okran. And as we can see there, we can see early remnants of the Holy Nation actually being built. Now, a couple hundred years later is where the Traders Guild and the Slavers Guild started to formate and actually becoming actual faction or a guild. And around this time, that's when the modern Sheks and the modern Hivers started to pop up. A couple hundred years after that, and we have the overthrow of King Shagger. Now, King Shagger, in all his glory, I guess, was the leader of the Hivers for about a couple years. And the reason he was overthrown was because he was throwing his people into so many wars that his whole village was crumbling. That means no food, that means no water, that means no life. At first, it was just protests, and then it escalated into full-blown riots that would drive the king out of his castle, per se. So, exiled from his group, a new person took up the mantle. This role was taken over by a guy named Bayan. Now, they tried to overthrow Bayan too, but he had a stone golem, which I'll throw it up on the screen, that said that if you wanted to overthrow him, you'll have to come through me first. And the people said, okay. And, yeah, that is the history of Kenshi. I can't believe I came back from work and this is what I'm doing. What the fuck is my life? Now, before we get into the weapon classes of Kenshi, we have to get into today's sponsor. Dubby. Now, Dubby is a jitter-free energy drink that I've been working with for the past few months to try to get you guys the best code possible. Now, original affiliates only get around 5% off for their codes, but I've gotten into the works with them and I've talked them up to 10% off for all orders on the website. So please, if you want a shaker cup, if you want a tub, if you want some merch, please go down to the link in the description below and use code BASKET10 for 10% off anything on the website. Thank you guys for watching the video, and thank you, Dubby. Now, the word Kenshi is derived from Japanese culture and is used to describe someone that is a swordsmith or a samurai of sorts. In Kenshi, you are doing a lot of fighting, and one of those tools that can be used to help you in fighting is weapons. Now, I'm not going to go through every weapon class and every weapon because that would just take way too long, and this video is already 30 minutes. Now, in Kenshi, you can use your fist, use martial arts, or grab you a sharp weapon. Now, our first style weapon here on this list is the katana. Now, the nadadochi from Kenshi is more or less the most popular katana used in the game, as it has very good damage output and the defensive skills are pretty easy to handle with lower stats. It also has the most length out of any katana, allowing it to hit more enemies in one swing. Now, personally, when I play Kenshi, I don't like to use these kind of weapons. I personally like to use the martial arts, which is a thing in the game. But one of the downsides to that is that you actually don't get any range with your attacks. You have to get right up close to them, and a lot of the times, sometimes they will have higher stats than you, and you will die. Now, on original Kenshi, before all the updates, martial arts was by far the best thing to use in the game. But it got changed because of a lot of people getting dodge locked by enemies, so the enemy would dodge every attack and you wouldn't be able to defeat them, essentially breaking your game. That's not to say it's not still a viable option for early game players who want to make a little bit of, a difference in their combat, that is. Next up on the list, we're going to talk about sabers. Now, the Desert Saber has the highest output of any other saber on the game, and it has a overkill bonus against the blood spiders we were talking about earlier, which fucking hell yeah. It also offers an absurd defense buff, making it a very viable option for early game players to snag some loot off of some enemies wandering. Now we're going to talk about the least popular weapon class in the game, hackers. Now, these are more poor weapons. Whenever you first start out, you might grab yourself a hacker as just a means of protection, but in fights it probably won't hold up well and you will end up dying with it. There are exceptions to when trying to kill like smaller animals, but late game, definitely not gonna work. Now, by far the best version of a hacker is the Moon Cleaver, which I think has a double attack buff. So you deal out more damage than you would, but it's same mechanics for all hackers. Now, blunt weapons are hardly ever used and they lack a lot of variety. Now, by far the Jite out of this weapon class is probably going to be your best bet. It has supreme indoor and defense buff and can ultimately drag you to the late game. Now, not a lot of people use this weapon class because it's just, there's a lot better options, and we will get into that. Now we're going to talk about heavy weapons, and yes, this is an entire class. Now, when the game first came out, you could find a wooden plank that would be classified as a heavy weapon, but you could also use it for other things. And it was, for a while, the best weapon in the game, by far. You could quite literally pick up a wooden plank and it could take you to the end of the game. Now, heavy weapons are a little weirder because you have to have extreme strength stat to use a heavy weapon, making it almost impossible to get it early game and locking it only to late game players who just need something max damage output. Now, I actually can't find what the best weapon in this class is, and maybe that's because they all just have max damage output and can just demolish anything in their path, which, good job, good job. Next, we're going to talk about pole arms, which is actually my favorite weapon class in the game. Now, a lot of people don't like the polearm class because the weapons themselves look kind of ugly. They tend to have little damage output and are very bad indoors. Now, if you're going to use the polearm class, I cannot recommend enough getting the Nagita. Now, the Nagata is a katana in the game as well, but they also have a polearm version. This is a very good weapon. It's 100% lightweight and 100% blunt, making it faster to swing and giving you a lot of damage on hits. Though you lose a lot of dexterity using the weapon, the animation from the actual swing allows you to hit a bunch of enemies at once, and with that extra damage output, that helps a lot towards combat. Oh my god, I am finally done with this video. Oh my god, this took me at least like 4, 5, like maybe a week to make, and I've just been working on it every single day. I come home from work, I edit. I go to work, I edit. So, for this to finally be done and ready to be out, thank you guys for watching. If you guys even watched 5 minutes of this video, thank you. And, yeah, I hope you guys really enjoyed the Kenshi video. I'll leave a link to Kenshi in the description. Go check out our sponsor. And yeah, love you guys. Hope to see you guys in the next video. Peace.